I'm Shredmaster Scott, and this video is called Top 10 Metal Guitar Riffs Music Theory Breakdown. In a moment, I'll play you my picks for the top 10 riffs in metal history. In addition, we'll cover the music theory analysis for these epic tunes. Stick around until the end of the video to get the full tabs and backing tracks. And by the way, anyone who disagrees with my list, the top 10 metal guitar riffs of all time. Let's get straight to it. Number 10 on the list is Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. Now, Ritchie Blackmore claimed to write this riff using the inversion of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Fortunately, he's deaf, so he's not going to file for copyright. So you can use your fingers to execute this riff. It's in parallel force in the key of G blues. Of course, that G blues scale contains a delicious flat 5 degree. And the story behind this riff, Deep Purple was recording in Switzerland by a lake. Now, Frank Zappa did a gig at a nearby casino. The casino burns down after someone shoots a flare gun. This creates a smoke on the water effect, hence the famed phrase. All right, moving on. Number 9 on the list is Diamond Head's Am I Evil? I always thought this was a rhetorical question, but he spells it out for you in the song. Now, this track didn't become popular until Metallica covered it some years later. It uses the E Locrian mode. E Locrian is relative to the key of F, containing that ominous flat second and also the flat 5th degree. Also, it's important to note Diamond Head was inspired by Gustav Holst's Mars the Bringer of War from his Planet Suite. Now, if you'd like the full tabs and backing tracks for this video, I'll leave a link to my Patreon page in the description below. There you can find daily technique and music theory etudes. All right, moving on to number 8 on my top 10 metal riffs. We've got Painkiller by Judas Priest. Now, this song was released in 1990. It contains a brutal down-picking assault at a tempo of 207 beats per minute. Now, we're using the Locrian mode as well for this riff, and with Rob Halford's screaming banshee vocals, it comes off as just epic. Moving on to number 7, I've chosen Dio's Holy Diver. You've got Vivian Campbell on guitar and, of course, the epic Ronnie James Dio on vocals. Rest in peace. And something really interesting to note about this riff is the key signature. We're in C minor, which is 3 flats, very uncommon in metal. Typically, you only see this in jazz. It contains the signature 4-bar phrase that it seems like all of these riffs share. So if you're trying to write a metal riff, try to condense it into that 4-bar phrase before it repeats. Moving on to number 6 of my top 10 riffs. We've got Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth. Now, this riff uses the E Phrygian mode, which is relative to the key of C. Dave Mustaine wrote this riff while he was in the car. Suddenly, a vicious headache came on, and he was inspired to write this riff. Moving on to number 5, we've got Slayer's Raining Blood. everybody knows this riff. It's classic. And something that's really unique about it is it uses the chromatic scale. R.I.P. Jeff Hanneman. Look out for spiders, grab me a beer. Number 4 on my top 10 metal riffs list is Metallica's Master of Puppets. I'm pulling your strings, baby. Now again, on this one, we've got the really fast downpicking speed and also a lot of chromaticism. Now, moving on to number 3, we're getting close. I've chosen The Trooper by Iron Maiden. Now the Trooper is in the E Aeolian mode at a very brisk tempo of 160 beats per minute. Now this figure right here, the gallop pattern, very important as it would become emulated by so many metal bands to follow. A bassist, Steve Harris, wrote this song about the charge of the Light Brigade in the Crimean War. Now number 2 on my best metal riffs of all time is Randy Rhoads' Crazy Train. Now this riff was released in 1980 on the Blizzard of Oz album. It uses the F-sharp Aeolian mode, or F-sharp minor. And it uses all of those tones from that scale. It's one of the only riffs that goes through the entire 7-note sequence. Simple, direct. This is many guitarists' first riff. Now get ready, because we're about ready to check out the number 1 metal riff of all time. Gotcha. And of course, it's Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Now this riff is in E Aeolian. A lot of people think it's centered around B, but it's actually centered around E. Tony Iommi wrote the riff, and the really brilliant thing about this riff is it contains a melody within it. Now this melody turns out to be so powerful that Ozzy Osbourne sings it. So remember, there's power in simplicity. Story behind this track, Geezer Butler, the bass player, wrote the song. It tells of a man who travels through time to see the apocalypse. He sees a bunch of fucked up shit, and on his way back he gets caught in a magnetic storm, becoming the famed Iron Man. And there's my picks for the top 10 metal riffs of all time. Of course, there's no way to reduce 60 years of metal history into 10 songs. And the greatness of any given musical passage is subjective to a large extent. You have to keep in mind that familiarity equals popularity. In other words, marketing and exposure has a lot to do with it. If you'd like the full tabs and backing tracks, I'll leave a link in the description below to my Patreon page. Here you can find daily updates for technique and music theory exercises, engineered to help you become a metal beast. There's also secret scales nobody knows about. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And until next time, shred till you're dead. Dead. Dead.